Greetings, cadets, and welcome back to the Academy. The Stormtrooper is the face of the Imperial military, with their recognizable faceplate being what inspires fear and terror in the hearts of any enemy that dares to oppose the Galactic Empire. Despite the Stormtrooper Corps being an elite unit in and of themselves, there are some scenarios where more specialized operatives are necessary in bringing peace and order to the galaxy. As the Galactic Civil War raged on, the Rebellion, along with other insurgent pockets, began to grow accustomed to the tactics and force used by regular stormtroopers. The Empire responded in kind, creating highly experimental and dangerous new stormtrooper types to combat their enemy. In this datacron, we will be going over a few of the most optimal stormtrooper classes that the Empire has to offer. This data is highly classified, but if you choose to subscribe, you will gain access to all of the decrypted files. So, without further ado, cadets, let us begin. The first unit we want to address is one that we don't very often get to see, which is the Nova Troopers. To put it simply, the Nova Troopers were an honor guard of stormtroopers, and stormtroopers that had proven themselves to be truly the best of the best. Their armor was that of a normal stormtrooper, but bore a distinct black and gold color palette to set them apart from any other unit. This made them indistinguishable from any other Imperial unit. The Nova Troopers are basically the backup to the Imperial Royal Guard, and are rarely encountered outside of the official Imperial ceremonies. They are mostly stationed on the Emperor's home planet of Naboo. However, these statues of black and gold are not just for looks. The Nova Troopers have surpassed the typical skill ceiling of even the finest stormtroopers. After the Battle of Yavin, Nova Troopers were dispatched on specific missions while under the charge of the Inquisitors against the Rebellion. They were armed with the standard E11 blaster rifle, as well as a stronger rifle if need be. However, the piece of equipment that grabs my eye is their twin DX2 blaster pistols at their sides. The DX2 was able to disintegrate targets at the molecular level, which was useful for those who did not want to leave bodies behind as evidence. Because of this blaster was actually illegal in most systems. The next unit we want to address is actually an offshoot of the Nova Troopers. These men are the Shadow Troopers, also known as the Black Hole Troopers. These stealth-based soldiers serve directly under the head of Imperial intelligence. The missions of a Shadow Trooper are highly classified, but we can gather what they do based on their equipment and their training. The Shadow Trooper's armor was completely black and was made out of a Stygian trypsmatic polymer that renders it virtually undetectable from any sensors. This, coupled with the cloaking device, makes them almost completely invisible to their enemies. They are trained in brutal ambush tactics, which only leaves to the imagination what these Black Hole Stormtroopers are truly capable of. Because of the hidden nature of their operations, we fittingly know very little about them. Introduced to us next came from Rogue One. We have, of course, the Death Troopers. These elite units were made as part of the Tarkin Initiative, which was a personal security detail for high-ranking Imperial officers. This is why we more often see them accompanying people like Director Krennic wherever he goes. However, they are far beyond mere bodyguards. Death Troopers served alongside Shadow Troopers specializing in guerrilla warfare and espionage. Their battlefield skills are almost unparalleled in success, and they are considered even more deadly than the Shadow Troopers. This was due to their rigorous training as well as their prep methods. The candidates for Death Troopers were subjected to a battery of physical tests and classified surgical enhancements that enhance their physical as well as mental attributes such as their speed, reflexes, stamina, and pushing said attributes to beyond human levels. Additionally, Death Troopers had to complete rigorous training in exotic environments to be stronger, faster, and more resilient than the norm. The Death Troopers were so good that there was a rumor that under all of that armor, they were barely more than zombies. Their kit was far more advanced than most Imperial units as well, featuring a far more upgraded suit of armor. The helmet featured a number of advanced sensors and targeting systems to give total situational awareness of combat areas, enemies, as well as even allies. One of which is a battlefield image enhancer, which is what those green dots on the sides of their helmets are for. The helmets also included voice scramblers, which allowed them to speak in an encryption, which made their communications impossible for anyone except another Death Trooper to fully understand. Their suits were overlaid with a material known as Reflect, which, much like the Shadow Trooper cousins, allows them to pass average sensors for stealth operations. They also have a wide loadout of weaponry and grenades from which to choose from, but standard issue armament for a Death Trooper is the E11D blaster rifle. The E11D was designed for close quarters and urban combat situations, the type of occurrences that Death Troopers excel in. The blaster carbonite traded range and accuracy for stopping power and short-range performance. If they needed a long-ranged option, they would typically carry a DLT-19D heavy blaster rifle, which is the model we see those Death Troopers and Krennic's detail carry on the beaches of Scarif. But now, the cream of the crop for this Datacron that we wanted to talk about is actually the Dark Troopers, but not the ones that come to your mind immediately. Long before the droid soldiers that we see in The Mandalorian was a different kind of Dark Trooper, made all the way back before the Battle of Yavin when this project was still highly experimental. We are talking about the abominations that are Phase 0 Dark Troopers. In these early trials, the Empire actually brought back some of the Clone Trooper veterans for the days of the Republic in which to experiment on, now with a twist. Clearly these clones were much older and in no way in shape to properly serve the Empire due to their rapid aging. In order to return aged veterans of the Clone Wars to peak conditions though, their limbs and organs were removed and replaced with cybernetics, using much of the same technology used to transform Darth Vader himself into a cyborg. In most cases, over 70% of the clone's body was ultimately replaced. However, very few of them actually survived this process, and many tragic lab accidents resulted in the deaths of several clones. With their years of combat experience and now cybernetic enhancements, the units that did make it onto the field were undeniably effective and brutal. They were tricked out in a Stormtrooper armor of a dark gray color that was much thicker and more protective than the regular Stormtrooper standard armor. This was also due to them being equipped with jump packs, which were basically jet packs with a much more reduced flight time, mostly to give the soldier an advantage to quickly jump to high ground. They were typically outfitted with blast cannons, which was basically the blaster version of a shotgun, but the most famous weapon they carried was the arc casters. These were modified E11 blaster rifles that unleashed a powerful electrical bolt that was able to disable electronics and boil organic beings from the inside out. Pretty brutal stuff. The electrical charge would also chain between enemies to take out multiple simultaneously. With their cybernetically enhanced bodies, thick armor, jetpacks, and aggressive weaponry, they would be able to jump behind enemy lines and make chaos by mowing down enemies point blank. However though, as the subjects were forcibly recruited into this experimental project, many Phase 0 Dark Troopers could not cope with the state of being more machine than man, and many actually attempted suicide. This project was soon terminated after observing the instability of its units, bringing an end to them until of course we saw them revisioned in The Mandalorian. So my friends and cadets, what do you think about these elite killing machines and Stormtrooper units? Do you believe that the Empire should have made more widespread use of them? And tell us, if you were an Imperial officer, which unit would you trust with your life? The Nova Troopers, Death Troopers, Shadow Troopers, or the terrifying Dark Troopers? Let us know in the comments down below, and be sure to leave other requests that you would like to see Datacrons on, as we'd continue to love to take a deeper dive into the Star Wars mythos. As always, troopers, glory to the Empire, and I hope that you have a great day.